Word here. All right. Okay. Hi, everybody. So I am on today and have the privilege to be on with Miss Lynette. And we are just going to kind of dive into her story and how kind of spiritual work and energy work and intuitive healing, whatever kind of course or ley line you want to put down for it, has helped her not only in her personal life, but with her business. So thank you, Lynette, for being here.
Oh, thank you. This is exciting.
So fun. And Lynette, you're just looking radiant today. So I just wanted to add that. And I appreciate taking the time. Like, this is a lot, I think, of people struggle with speaking or being in a recorded situation. So I really do honor and appreciate the time. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, let's just kind of dive right in because we know we're all ADD and we want to hear we want to get to the grit of what we're doing here. So start out, Lynette, and just give us maybe a little background, however you feel you want to put it. Like, maybe go back to when you first kind of discovered this new way of kind of healing, maybe what that looked like for you, where you were at emotionally, physically, like what did that look like? And then we'll kind of get into that a little bit and then jump into where you're at now after we go through that.
Okay. So I think it's been about 4 years, possibly 5 years. And I was just in a really bad place in my life. So I was extremely abused as a child and actually passed away due to some circumstances being abused. And I thought I dealt with it, through counseling, but it was all coming up. And can I tell you exactly why? I guess timing. I guess, God, the universe says, okay, there's more layers. Let's go for this. And I tried in everything, all my little own tools, and what am I going to do with all this crud? And I just don't feel like myself, and my self-worth was down, and my business really suffered because I truly, truly know that when you as a business owner are suffering or having personal problems, then your business suffers. So it was all encapsulated.
So, okay, sorry to interrupt, but kind of go back a little bit. Like, and when you say you passed away, like, can you without, I don't want to make it too emotional or raw, but kind of just give us a little background and then share with us kind of like, how long had you been in just regular kind of counseling situations after that happened?
So I was 8 when I passed away, and obviously I came back and I had a choice. Like, I went to the other side. I saw my life, what the lessons that I needed to learn and the growth that I needed here. And I was given some gifts to function, but I came back mad. I didn't come back mad. After I came back, I was mad. I was angry at the world. I was at God, because here I am, and I had this beautiful experience, and I'm supposed to be here, and I'm still living in hell, with this family, and still being abused. And I was really angry.
Right.
And so traditional counseling, I did that a couple of times, and it helped. A lot of people don't get as much help as they want, but for me, just acknowledging and saying, you know what, I'm sorry, I'm tired of hiding, and I'm tired of, keeping your secrets. And, most of my family ended up disowning me, and a lot of death threats. And I mean, here's a big web of mess. And
so did your family disowning you and the death threats, did that come about as you were kind of divulging what had been happening to you? You were wanting to speak like your truth finally, like I'm done, I can't do this anymore, this is what's going on. And like, at this point, about what age were you at when you're finally starting to be able to share these things?
I was in my early 30s.
Oh wow. So you held on to it for a long time.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And I was tired of, carrying their secret, and I didn't want him to get away with it. All of these grandchildren were being born, and I was like, yeah. So if you don't want to speak out, I am. So it was a scary time. I have to be honest. It was really scary. My family, my husband at the time was very supportive, and we kind of went into a little bit of hiding. What I'd say, how we did that was we just didn't give anybody our phone number. We moved. We didn't give anybody where we lived. or our phone numbers. And we just, for about a year, just, you know what, this is what it is. And so because I had, like I said, gotten death threats, and, you know, I had family members come to me and how dare you do this, and a lot of confrontation. I wasn't ready for that. I was really not ready for that. I needed space to heal, not being bombarded with, you know, you have to keep our secrets. So
Right. So so within like that time, because that's a big jump, like going from 8 to 30, you're just kind of like dealing with it and managing it and survive. You're basically
yeah,
in
I was
just
in
total
survival.
survival. And
I
then
was
did
in,
you,
yeah, and I was in denial and repression, but the evidence was strong. I mean, all of it, you know, I was really struggling.
yeah,
Good points, and couldn't make decisions, couldn't get anywhere in my life. I didn't own a business at that time. So you know, I have 4 boys, and you know, I was mother and I was working still, but my life was just, I still feel good, and I was just a mess.
yeah. So do you feel like, were you able to kind of get out of that situation when you were of age, and then you subsequently, like, did you kind of go to college and then meet your husband, and then like kind of what did that like little part look like for you?
Yeah, so I over the last, you know, couple of years working with Lula, I didn't tell a lot of people, but my first son, I was pregnant when I got married. So I was 18 when I got married. So
Okay.
that
So
escaped.
you're young. That was your
So I was
escape.
actually pregnant at 17, but when I got married, I was 18. I had him when I was 18, and that was my escape. I didn't know how to get out. And not that I did that consciously, but that's what happened. And that's how I got out of that horrible situation at 18. And now I honor that. And you know, it's very a different place I'm in now, right? Not to jump too far ahead, but I recognize that that's what I did. I had
Right.
out.
Well,
And I didn't see any other way. My parents were not supportive of me going to college at all.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't help me. And I graduated early from high school, and I couldn't figure out what to do, and I couldn't figure out how to move on. And I was in a relationship with my kid's dad, and it just happened.
I'm so proud of you for honoring that moment and sharing that with us. Like, that's not easy. And I can completely see that and understand your pain and your process. And who wouldn't, Lynette, make that choice to get out of a situation? Realistically, when it's that bad and you're in survival, it is hard. It's probably one of the hardest things that you have ever been through, looking back at it. And for you to get out and then take the time and continue to carry that weight through multiple pregnancies, having more children, and then back up to where you're 30 and you're going, okay, I got to take a look at this. Because tell me, like, when you do have that discovery at 30 and you're getting the bombardment from the family where they're not believing you, and you're finally taking that time and getting away so you can heal, really, like really heal.
Right.
But like, where are you at as far as like, what is it that kind of keyed you into, I've got to make a change? Like, were you getting physically sick? Were you just depressed? What were the feelings there? Like, what pushed you off the edge to finally like take that step?
So I was diagnosed with a thyroid issue, which I had, was really hard because I was just tired, extremely tired, and I couldn't lose the baby weight from my last child. And my self-esteem was in the toilet because of it. And I didn't feel like I could hardly take care of my children. And so as I started getting on some medication for my thyroid, I started feeling better. But there was an acquaintance, and I didn't know him well, but he was a therapist, and he had this like 3-day course that you'd go through. And I was just feeling so bad about myself and my life. And I just couldn't figure out why I couldn't get my act together.
Right.
Which is, looking back, is like, I was blaming myself, right? Like, I'm the issue, I'm the problem, what's wrong with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to do that, take this, and that was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Whew. And not that a lot of the abuse came up, but just my survival techniques came up, and I started looking about, okay, how I'm in survival. And so then after that, that led me into counseling, which then I was like, okay, well, maybe this is a problem, because I kept thinking, well, it's not a problem, I'm good. But there was where it definitely wasn't, like my sexual life, a lot of things, like how I would let people run all over and walk all over me. And I couldn't I couldn't stand up for myself, and
Right.
things.
Just not having like boundaries and just
Right. No boundaries.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And I think it's good for people to understand, like, when you're feeling depression or like not acceptance of kind of things, maybe taking them on as your fault when they're not, like how hard. And I'm sure your anxiety's through the roof and you're kind of just running on edge. You're probably not sleeping well. And then you even admit like thyroid issues suddenly. And it's hard to take a second to take a deep breath and look at, okay, this is happening, but really getting back to the root of why is this happening? Because I'm done. Like, it sounds like to me that you finally got to that place where you're like, this is going to be hard. And I know I need to take a look at it, and I'm done. Were you kind of, is that right?
Yeah, I really was. I was really at that point where I knew I needed help. And the only thing I knew was traditional counseling. And fabulous counselors. She specifically worked with women, only women that had been sexually abused.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was very good. And then she had a group counseling session that I went to every week. And that was really good. I felt like I had a community of women that believed me. And I had never, ever been believed, ever. So that was huge for me. Somebody that really believed me and believed my story. That was huge for me.
Yeah, so powerful to just be heard.
Right, right. And whatever crazy thing, I thought in my head was crazy, they're like, oh yeah, that's happened to me. And I'm like, what? This happens to other people?
Yeah, and you think you're the only one, and we
right.
kind of
and
do
that's
that, I think, as a survival mechanism. Like, I'm the only one, no one's going to understand me, and we kind of like twist things and get negative and have that destructive pattern, which again sounds like you recognized even that, and it's not a small thing to step out of, Lynette. That's a big deal. A lot of people just are stuck in that cycle.
Yeah, and I was vulnerable, and it was, and then I have this family coming down on me at the same time. And yeah, it was a rough time. It was a really rough time, but I grew a lot. We grow out of our hardest times, and I'm stronger. And I said, no, you know what? You are not going to threaten me. I'm not going to be silenced. I had clergymen and because I am religious, I do belong to a church, and coming to me and say, how can you do this to your family and stop it? And I'm like, no, you can't. I'm not lying for them anymore. No. And then I would go somewhere else. I would pick up and leave. I'm like, nope, if you're not gonna believe me, you're not gonna help me, then I'm gone.
Yeah. Well, and that's like so awesome that you were able to have the strength and have some support that with this women's group, it sounds like, was really able to start hearing your own voice and standing in your power a little bit better, inch by inch. So then, so take me from, okay, so we're in this women's group. You're finally accepting, like, okay, I'm not the only one. I'm feeling like crap. I'm starting to understand what's going on here. And physically, you're starting to feel better. And tell us a little bit, like, how do you meet Lula? And then explain to me kind of your process of meeting her and working with her and where that led you.
So why did I meet? Well, I had known Lula when we first moved to Idaho, but as a child, I think I was like 7 or so. She belonged to our church, but my mom absolutely adored her. So I'd heard, little glimpse, little ever over the years about how my mom loved Lula, but not until I was 50. So between 30 and 50, a lot of life happened, went to college, got my life more in control, but then my husband and I divorced, which was a really big step for me to stand up for myself and say, nope, there's another boundary. That was a huge growing point. I just would grow at my own pace, and stuff would come up, and I'd think about it, and I'd write about it, and I had my own little techniques. And so I divorced him, and that was huge for me.
Right. I can imagine.
Really big.
especially to be in such a vulnerable state and just kind of coming into your own with accepting that this abuse had been happening and then understanding how it's impacting you physically and emotionally. And then to come to someone that maybe felt like he was supporting you, really, you're going, well, no, you're just using me as much as any of the other
Yeah.
people in my past, because we all know and understand, I think, that you kind of attract what you've grown up with. And this is part of our learning process. So
Right.
for you to step into your own power and make those changes is not easy. And that is a big
No, it was
deal.
scary. It was very scary. I still had one son at home in high school. I think he was a junior. And then the son that was just older than him, he's 3.5 years older than him. He wanted to come back and live with me and go to college. And so now he's wanting my support. And, I have a fledgling little business here. And it was a big leap of faith. It really was a big leap of faith, but I knew I couldn't live like I was living before. So anything was better than that. Right.
Right.
So I had changed enough to like, wait a minute, I'm not putting up with your shit anymore. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's done. And one day I just said, you need to move out. I'm done. And he was quite shocked, but probably not really. He says he was. Well, he's passed away since then, but which I feel bad for my kids, for him. And he left very angry and wouldn't speak to me still, till he died. But that's okay. It's his path, and I'm actually okay with it. And he actually threatened to commit suicide. And that, instead of looking at that as a bad thing, in my mind, I said, oh, well, that definitely is a line. You just crossed it. Thanks for the out.
Yeah.
So it's all your perception. And I didn't take it as a bad thing. I took it as, that's the line. Okay, we're done. I'm out.
Yeah.
And so I think perception is a huge part of how we deal with hard things in our lives.
Yeah. Well, definitely. And that's just a lot, Lynette, from like, I know we're going through this interview kind of in a timely manner. So I appreciate you sharing these little pieces. And I know that it will help someone else needs to hear this. I really do. And for the people that are listening that don't know Lula, she's a kind of clairvoyant, not kind of, she is a clairvoyant, intuitive energy healer. And so, yeah, Lynette, tell us, so then what is your business? You're working, you're a mom, you're starting your own business. Like what is it that you're doing? And then you're still probably in traditional counseling, I'm assuming.
No, I wasn't.
Off of that at this point.
No, I spent a good solid year, maybe a little bit more, in counseling, and then felt like I had the tools and felt like I could function. And like I said, I kept using those tools over the years, and obviously I didn't, because in between that time that I had counseling and met Lula, I also got cancer. So it was eating me up, in other words. So I spent 17 months doing chemotherapy. That was hell, really hard. And didn't have a lot of support. That was hard.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
There were a few people that supported me. My husband at the time really struggled with it, and his out was to work more. So I asked people to take me it was hard to, like to my appointments and stuff. And, but I grew. I definitely came more out of my shell. I'm like, okay, so who do I want to be now? I have a second chance at life. And that was good. That, things happen for a reason.
Right.
So that was a big deal. And then divorcing my husband. And then I just started slipping down. And I think that just happens. You come to a good place and you feel safe. I had remarried and was feeling safe. And so don't get scared, people, when you start feeling safe. But I'm going to say this: when you come to a good place in your life and you're feeling safe and secure, that's when you can start dealing with some of the crud. And I thought I'd dealt with most of it, but there was so much more I hadn't. Like, I barely touched the surface. I mean, you think about 16 years of being raped, and then also, and all the other stuff that happened to me. There was no way I could deal with it in a year. And it's a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I hadn't ever really released it. Like, I faced it. I think I feel like I faced it. Then what did I do with it? I just
Right.
found ways to feel better, and but I still had a lot of problems. So a good friend of mine, Carrie Cornelius, for about 6 months, like, Lynette, you've got to go see Lula. You've got to go see Lula. And I'm like, I don't even know about it. I mean, okay, so let me back up really quick. When I was a child, and one of my gifts when I died, when I was given, is that I have intuition. My intuitive skills are quite high, but my family didn't honor him, and I was quite ridiculed and told never to, talk about it. So I just to myself. And so it was a really big leap to call Lula. Let me tell you, it was a really big leap, because it was this guilt and shame and all this entangled in this intuitive ability, right?
Right.
So, but the day came that I could hardly get up to go to work. And I was going to tell you about my business too. I will. So my business was suffering again because I was a mess. So, yeah, I'm a very creative person. I love the arts. I love learning things. I love figuring stuff out. I always have. I take all my parents' stuff apart, like the toasters, and figure out how they worked. And just one of the kids that loves to, and I still do. I love to figure things out, whether that's, a recipe or whatever. So my business is I help people get their inventions on the market.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we do a lot of product development, and not always. Some people have that all figured out, but they don't know how to manufacture it. So we do manufacturing, and then how do you get it here? The shipping and the customs and the duties, and so we kind of a one-stop shop to help people with quality control and all that fun stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, good for you. That's so great. So, kind of to back up a little bit, are you on your second marriage then, or your third? Are you? You just got divorced twice. Okay. So
no, I'm on my second marriage.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify, just for the story listeners, or that. And then you're going back into, and is this business something you've been working with and on for a while, or was it kind of newer for you within that? Like, as your kids are graduating high school, finally you're like, I want to work for myself, and this is my gift, and I want to start using my intuition more and really help people. I
didn't say the intuition, but I did start my business when my youngest son was in high school. Yeah. Okay. About the time my first divorce. Okay. Yeah, doing this a little while, and I struggled. I have to tell you, I struggled. I'd hit a platform and get scared and get stuck there. And I mean, that's just natural human nature, right? We got to lift that barrier.
Right.
So I would go through cycles of breaking barriers. So, but I came to the point where before I met Lula, I just couldn't break that barrier. I just couldn't figure out how. And then I knew, I've always known, for at least for a long time, that your business suffers, as I said, if you're suffering or if you're not doing well.
Right. So you're kind of like, this business works, you've seen it work, but you're just like, you're not getting quite to that where you want to be there. And now you're like, okay, it's time to take a look at me. Who can help me? And magical, beautiful, for all of you that know her, redheaded Lula shows up. And so just kind of tell us, like, what has she done to help you personally? And then where do you feel like it's also helped with your business? Like, I know a lot of people listening are business owners and can be. I think we're all entrepreneurial at spirit. And I think it's good for people to hear that you can be a single mom or even at your age or my age and create something amazing and give back to the world of what you feel your gifts and talents are. So, I mean, take us through just meeting her. We know you've met now. Your business is okay, but you're feeling personally down in the dumps. So now you're working on things. What do you feel like? How has she really helped you and your business there?
Well, I guess it's hard to describe, isn't it?
Yeah. The words are interesting.
What are the, like, I feel it, like there's a deep appreciation and gratitude, for Lula and her help. But how do you vocalize? How do you put words into what she's done? And so to compare it, I guess what you do is to compare it to traditional therapy, where you just talk about it and you moan over it and you cry over it, and it's just over and over, and it just takes forever. Whereas when you sit down when I would sit down, because I only speak to me about me, when I would sit down with Lula, it didn't start out talking about a trauma or, something in the past. It would usually start with a symptom, whether it was physical or emotional or social or whatever that was, just taking me back. Oh, this stems from, this time or this general of, you being abused, or this fearful of your father or your grandfather, or, something like that. And then looking through it, because of her gifts, clearing it. And so the best way to say that is to release it. So I did have to bring it up. Like that's one thing that scares people. You mean I'm going to have to relive that? Yes, but it's only for a moment.
Right.
And I thought it would be more like traditional, would be forever, like days and weeks, and I'd be miserable. But no, it's for a moment, because, her sessions are an hour.
Yeah. Right.
And you're not crying the whole time, right? So it's for a moment, but she would have me really get into that feeling and vulnerability and the pain and whatever that was. And then she would help me see what was happening and the real story. And, because your childhood memories and what you hang on to and the things that you decide as a child are still here as an adult. And you just don't even realize it. You made that decision so long ago, but here you're an adult and you're still making that same crazy decision.
Right.
She'd help me see that and then release it, like physically and emotionally and spiritually release that pain and that guilt and that shame or whatever that crazy emotion was, and to help me see, like, this is going to sound crazy, but see, if it hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't have these gifts, or I wouldn't have done this. Like I said, with the birth of my first son, I would not have ever, how would I have gotten out? How would I have escaped? And be grateful that even though I was looked down on and shamed and all those kinds of things, but I withstood all that and I became stronger. And so now I'm grateful that I got pregnant. And who would say that?
Right. Right. It's just about finding the balance of like, okay, these things have happened, but now I can look at them without the emotion attached because of the work you've done. And it's enabled you to propel yourself with these tools now to where you're at, and the space of gratitude for those things, so that you can step forward and get out of that like depressive, like, oh, I'm just like, can't get up in the morning, or maybe manifesting some physical issues, like I've got a cold all the time, or my nose won't stop running, or kind of whatever that might look like for you. So you're kind of finally like, okay, she's really helping me. I'm not emotionally tied to these situations. I can recall them and I'm not getting emotional.
Right. And that is huge. That's huge. I can look back on the ones we've worked on. Now you have to remember, I've 16 years is a long time. It's a lot of abuse. And not that I want to say that I've had more abuse than anyone else, but I want to say is that no matter what your trauma is, it doesn't have to be, physical or emotional or sexual abuse. It can be just life stuff happens.
Right.
You were bullied. I mean, it affects you the same.
Right.
So, it's me personally, it's just taken time working with Lula because I have a lot of crap.
So as you're working through, how now that you're releasing, like this series is Unleash, Release, and Heal. Like as you're releasing this and you are healing, because you're here, you're sharing with us, you're getting emotional, but it's not taking you down. You're able to be vulnerable about it and raw. But how are you feeling like this work has propelled you? And then also the business end, like, you're thriving? In my opinion, you look amazing. You look happy, right? So something's working.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, the universe, God, however you want to say it, takes you on a path. Your best path, if you allow it. And, I, for a long time, was still pushing. I'm like, nope, I don't want that. Nope, I don't want that. Without seeing, what this path is for me. That's why I'm here. That's why we're all here. The path is for me. And I ended up getting 2 partners, which I never thought I would do. And one had amazing contacts in China that really propelled our business. And we didn't integrate our businesses. We were more strategic partnerships. We didn't intermingle our money. We would pay each other for services. Best thing I ever did.
That's awesome.
But that's the boundary. I learned that, right? I didn't just jump and give everybody my money, right? And all my time. The other person was an engineer and he was amazing. I love him. He did some fabulous work for us. But of course we paid him for that. And then the gentleman who had all the contacts in China had a life situation, a business situation, and walked away one day. I mean, literally said, done, gone, I'm out of here in 2 weeks. That was hard.
Yeah.
It was like, but that's my livelihood. Like, what are you doing? So then I got to rethink, what do I really want to do? Which was really a good point. It's really a good thing. Now I look back at it, it was an amazing experience. It was good for me. It was like, well, it made me think about what kind of clients do I want? What do I really want to do? Do I want to be all entangled in people's businesses? Because people would think, oh, this is Lynette's business. I'm like, no, it's not. It's your business. You hired me. I'm not your bookkeeper. Like they'd say, yeah, send me the invoice again. I lost them all. I'm like, no, I'm not your mommy.
Yeah, right.
I'd become kind of this mom figure and I don't want to do that anymore. So it was a really good thing it happened. So it helped me readjust. And just about that time, COVID hit. And so, yeah.
The dreaded COVID, but we're learning to love COVID. We're all getting more grateful for it because there have some beautiful things come from COVID.
Right. So it really shut the business down. People just freaked out, got scared. We're like, I don't know when we're going to open, especially when we didn't open after 3 months. Then they really got scared. And so I'm not going to manufacture, and I couldn't get new clients, which, you know, that's the lifeblood of your business.
Right.
And then consistently people ordering from our factories.
Mm-hmm.
So people were ordering less, except for a couple would order that were doing better. But because of the break in the business, they got burned out and were angry that Shakir, well, I shouldn't say his name, but my partner left a bad taste in their mouth. And even it just is what it is. So a bunch of them did leave right before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of income. And so I have actually been working at our local hospital as a screener, which is a good thing because I learned to recognize I don't like a boss. I don't like having a boss. I like being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, right.
Not that I'm a bad employee. I think I'm a great employee.
Right.
But I have my health insurance paid for. I get to run the stairs, and run stuff around, and that I get some exercise, and so there's some good things to it. But the bad part of it is I get all the frustration and anger of everybody coming in, and being a sensitive person, that's really difficult. And Lula has really helped me over the last 7 months having this job, like tools and releasing and, all this anger coming at me. And she's been amazing. But on the other hand, she's helping me to see, you need that my business, I've gotten a couple new clients about ready to quit this job. I can see things opening up for me again. And I can, she's really taught me that when you make a decision, then things show up, because I was really like, okay, I can never quit now. I don't feel, how am I ever going to quit? I was really stuck in that decision making. How am I ever going to quit? Because I want to lose my insurance. I don't.
Right. Well, it's like you took a step back and you kind of humbled yourself because you went away from owning your own to taking a step back and working for someone else, which really did help you understand, no, I have gifts and abilities to run my own thing. And now you're back running your own thing. And it's like, it is. And I'm sure you're going to tell us right now, as soon as you decided to run your own business, you have more clients and then you have another one and the doorways just keep opening and you're like, why is this so hard for us to understand? If we just get out of our own way, things start to happen, right?
Right. Well, we get this fear. I mean, I just will be honest. I lived in a, state of fear all my childhood and then all my adulthood. And so getting out of that fear, but dealing with the fear, like, what is the fear really? So the fear really is I'm not going to have insurance and I'll get ill again and da. So I'll just stay poor.
Yeah.
That's what
you're telling yourself that, basically.
Well, but we don't even realize we're telling ourselves that, right?
But you've discovered
so we would rather have a rotten relationship than have money, because we have this skewed relationship with, in our head with money, right? And so, yeah, made the decision, and today's the day I'm putting in my notice. And
Yay.
I had a client show up when I made that decision. She just handed me $1,000. And I'm like, and so what the hell am I doing?
Yeah. You're like, wait a
Today,
second.
yeah. So I'm giving my notice today, and I'd already decided that last week. I just needed to figure out the timing. Like, here's the deadline, and here's when am I going to quit? Yeah, because I do want the insurance, but I do want the money to pay for the insurance, and I know that COVID's, or not COVID, but the COBRA is really expensive. So I got back in my head a little over the last week.
Right.
And yesterday, I'm like, nope, I'm doing it Friday. I'm doing it Friday. I'm writing the letter and I'm doing it. And it's like things start happening. Well, it has to then, right? Because you've made a decision. But we don't realize that. We stay, okay, well, it's always going to stay like this. Even if I do make a decision, it'll always stay like this. And that's not the truth.
Right. So working with Lula, like it sounds like to me, like she's helped you not only come out of like staying positive in a space where you had to step back, which most people would look at and probably demoralize themselves in a way.
Oh, and I did. I had the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Like I've lost it all. How could I, let this happen? How did, start blaming myself. The shame came up, all that old, but they were deeper layers. If you think of like the onion, I've dealt with layers, and now we're getting into deeper shame and guilt.
Right.
And problems and issues I have around money, because I was also sold for sex. And so there's a lot of issues around money and having money. And, I'd rather not, if that's what it means, right? But that's just my own thinking. So I have to be honest, I did over the last 7 months go up and down. I'm in a great place now, but it's not an instant fix either.
No, right. But it sounds like that just through working with her, she's really helped you become more clear and just kind of, she's not doing any of this for you, but you have been able to do the work, and it's hard work, and you've chosen to do it. And now you're having opportunities almost come out of the blue just because you've been willing to get more clear about what it is you want with your business, where you want it to go, and people and things and money are just coming, like it's just falling into place.
Right. Exactly. And that's so hard to see when you're on the other side. It's so hard, and you're really fearful, and you just throw a temper tantrum and you cry, and you got to figure out why. You got to figure out, what is that relationship with money or with business or with people that's keeping you stuck.
Yeah, whether it's you not feeling worth it or not enough or good enough, or maybe you'd feel like you don't have the right education, or you don't have this degree or that degree. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if I'm coming to you to help me with my business, I'm not asking you what degrees you have. Like that doesn't bother me at all,
That's not my degree.
Yeah.
That's not my degree.
Yeah. So see, it's kind of like taking a minute to really look at, and I think this is where Lula has also helped me, is just take a minute and look at where you're at, what it is that you love, what your gifts are, and then implying that and adding it into your business space and that mentality. And now you're more clear, you're more focused, you've let go of all of this trauma, and it's a still work in progress. Definitely. It's not always perfect, but again, there's the balance. We've got to have some negative to balance out the positive. And here you are now, like, would you change any of it?
No.
Yeah.
No, I would not change. And that's, I've said that for years, but obviously there's a lot of emotion behind it, because it's hard to describe how horrible my life was. It really is hard to put it into words. Yeah. And continue to be as an adult living with a verbally abusive man. But I would not be who I am. And I wouldn't be this strong woman, and I wouldn't be able to help people who have dreams. I mean, I feel like if I put my business and my life into a little nutshell, it would be, I help people with their dreams, fulfill their dreams. If they're willing to work, if you're not, you're gone. I'm out. You're out. I have boundaries now.
Right.
If you work, you love it, and it's your passion and your gift, I'll do all I can to help you with your dream, because I love to see people succeed with their dreams, because I couldn't have a dream as a child. didn't feel like I was allowed to have any of my dreams. There were things I wanted to do. I have this gift. I'm a singer, and I think I have a great voice, and I love being on stage. I'm one of those people, but I wasn't allowed that dream.
Right.
And then I didn't allow myself to have a dream. So there's the two. Not only did I was not supported, but then I didn't feel worthy of that dream.
Right.
So my mission is to help people with their dreams. And if I hadn't had all those things happen, there's no way I'd be here. There's no way I could help other people. And I watch my children, and they're trying to fulfill their dreams, and they're working on their dreams, and they're like everybody else. They have their dips, their ups, and their downs, but I feel like they watch me. And I haven't told them hardly anything about my life. They know I was abused, and I'm starting to tell them, I did die, and they're just shocked. There's things you just don't, your kids, you know how it is with children. You don't want to say too much.
Yeah.
You want them to get wrapped up in that trauma because, they feel bad for you, of course. But I get to watch them, and they are watching me, which I think is one of my gifts, being that example.
Right. Oh, well, I am so honored to have you share with us. And again, thank you for being so vulnerable and emotional. And I think that this moment we've had with you today will help a lot of people and help them really think about their dreams and where they want to go and what they want to do, and understand that it's not always easy, and not everyone comes from this perfect background, and that's okay, because it's made you who you are now, and you sound very clear on what it is you want to do and your path and your purpose. And that is something that I think a lot of people I know really struggle with finding, and they know they should be doing something different, and they're really wanting to find that purpose and that path. So it sounds to me like Lula has really supported that process for you, and has been able to enlighten you to the point where you've been able to make these choices for yourself, which is a big deal. Very big deal.
Yes, I always feel like she has supported me 100%, but she was also very tough with me and saying, Lynette, you know what, at some point you got to grow up. That was a really hard thing to hear from her.
Yeah.
But she was absolutely right. When was I going to stop blaming everybody and everything else and say, you know what, Lynette, this is what you did with your life. This is what you chose. But if you hadn't done these things, like have a child, you wouldn't have been here, and you wouldn't have done this, and seeing other circumstances like that, instead of being so hard on myself. And that was a really hard thing for her to do, I'm sure, to say to me, Lynette, you got to grow up. You got to do this on your own, though. You have to make that decision. And I would say that was probably about 6 months ago. It was a really hard couple of months,
Right.
To deface that I hadn't ever grown up, and I was always looking for somebody to take care of me, because I wasn't taken care of as a child. But now here I am, and I know I can take care of myself. Very different, very different. But I also know that I have her support in doing that, and all the people that my core. I have this little core of people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a trust issue, obviously.
I can't imagine why.
So I have this little core few people that I talk to, and that support me, and Lula's one of them, and you and others that, I know I can trust. And so that was a hard thing to do. Grow up? Really? I didn't grow up.
Right.
No, I have her support 100%. And if I have a bad day, or if I have something come up, or a memory or something come up, I know that she will support me and help me. And on the other side, I'll see the good of it, because all I see right then is the bad, right? But there's also the good.
Right.
There's always, always, always the good. I don't think people understand that. They just see the bad.
Right. Well, I'm so proud of you, and I think you've grown immensely since I've known you. And I just have seen and watched you grow, and I think it's amazing where you're at today. And I'm so excited to just see what the future holds for you. So congratulations, be proud of yourself. And thank you so much for sharing today, Lynette. I really, really do appreciate your time and honor your story and your path. And again, I look forward to seeing how you progress.
Thank you.
Okay, so for those of you,
can I give my email address?
Yeah, so for those that are listening, just check the bio. We'll put a whole type up and we'll give you guys all of Lynette's information on her business, what she's doing, and we'll get you guys all caught up and in the loop. So
Perfect. Awesome.
thanks again, Lynette. You have
Thank
an
you.
awesome day. Okay.
You
Thanks,
too.
everybody. Another episode with Unleash, Release, and Heal. This is Julie and signing off. We'll talk to you guys again soon.